Hello everybody, my name's Austin Jackson, and in today's video we're going to learn how to use Google Earth to find unique landscape photography compositions, ones that you've never seen before. I really like using this in order to find really cool spots in places where a lot of people have photographed before, but maybe find a little bit different look or a different spot. Lately I've been using this a lot in Zion National Park because I live right next to the park, and there's obviously a lot of really great photographs of Zion National Park, but I've wanted to do some cross-country travel and explore some lesser explored spots. And this is going to be a two-part video. In the first part, I'm going to show you guys how to look through Google Earth and find really interesting spots. And then in the second part, I'm actually going to show you that spot in person once I'm actually there and show you kind of how our Google Earth view matches up to the actual view in real life. And those are both going to be on the same video. I'll put chapters in here so you can fast forward if you want to just skip to the in-person part versus the on the computer part. So that is all going to be in this video here. So let's go ahead and jump right into the computer section here. I've got Google Earth downloaded on my iMac here, and we are going to look at some really cool spots here. Okay, so once you're in Google Earth here, the first thing I want to do is go up here, and I'm just going to type Zion National Park, and we're going to hit search. So that is going to zoom us in here to Zion National Park here in southern Utah. And now, obviously, I kind of know what I'm going to be looking for already. But if you don't know, it might take you a little bit of time to figure out exactly what you want to do. But I want to look over in this area of Zion, which, if you didn't know, this east side of Zion is kind of like the high country. There's some really cool stuff out there. So essentially what I'm going to do is zoom in, and I'm just using the scrolling wheel on my mouse. You can also come over here and zoom in or zoom out like this. And I just want to zoom in to find a cool spot. Now, the best way to do this isn't by looking at it from the top down, unless you're trying to find maybe like a drone spot. But to find a spot that you're going to shoot with your regular camera, you actually want to be on the ground. So what I like to do is grab this little person and just drag and drop this person anywhere. Let's just say down here. Now that's going to give us like an in-person view. I'm going to exit the ground level though, because I don't like being that close to the ground. But now you can see I'm a lot closer to the ground. I can use this over here with the eye to change my view. And now I can actually look around. So now I'm getting a much better look at what it's actually going to look like when I'm here in person. Now I like using the arrow keys on my keyboard to do this. So you can use your arrow keys to move around here. And I'm just hitting all four arrow keys here to move around. If you hold shift, you can move the look around rather than moving your actual person here. So if you just want to move the actual camera itself, you can use the arrow keys. And if you want to change the direction that you're looking, hold shift while you're pushing those arrow keys. And you can look around here. So you can see there's obviously a lot of cool spots. Now, what I'm looking for when I'm looking for these cool spots is A, I'm firstly looking for an interesting composition, and B, I'm looking for something that I could potentially use as a foreground. So if I scroll around here, you can see there is some pretty cool features here. And let's go, the one spot that I had pre-picked out for this video is actually, I think, over here. So I'm going to keep scrolling, and you can see sometimes Google Earth is a little bit slow. But I'm going to go up here, and the one thing that I like about this area right in here is that it's a lot of rock and a couple trees here and there. So this area I could potentially use as a foreground if I had a good subject. Now my good subject, I'm actually going to turn over here, and I really like this mountain right here. So the cool thing about this mountain is that I think if we were on this ridge here, right about here, I think this mountain would look pretty good to get a angle, something like this. You can see it's somewhat pointy here. So if I can get on this ridge, there is a few trees here, and you can see that it is just rocks. So we're not like in the middle of a forest or anything. So it's nice to have just rocks and open slick rock, because that's going to allow me to find a few different interesting compositions. So let's say that I want to get somewhere up on this ridge. Maybe it's down here, maybe it's up here. Now what I want to do here is I want to figure out how I'm going to get to this spot. So let's go like this. Now what I like to do personally is hover over the spot you want to go to. You can actually even add a marker here. and this will make a little place mark. So let's go ahead and let's just put it right here, for example. Now what you can do is copy and paste these coordinates. You can also type in here, of course, and say cool spot in Zion. Now you can grab these coordinates and put that into like any hiking map. So if you use Maps.me, Gaia GPS, AllTrails, CalTopo, any of those maps, you can just go ahead and put these coordinates in there so that you can find it. You can even build yourself a route if you want on any of those maps. So now I have those coordinates. I know that's where I want to go. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. So that saves on my map. Now I need to figure out how to get there, because obviously I can find tons of cool spots, but is it actually possible to get there? So what I'm going to do is scroll back over here, and we know that this is a road right here. So we know obviously we can get up to the road. Let's turn the field of view here. And you can even see that there's parking right here. So you could easily park right there. And maybe you could park over here if you wanted to start over here. So what I'm looking at essentially is I'm trying to get to this point right here. You can maybe see that tiny little marker, and I need to figure out how to get there. So obviously you have to take into account your skill level, your fitness level, because this isn't really going to be for your just average trail hiker. You need to have a little bit of cross-country experience to be able to navigate your way over there. But what I'm seeing basically is that I don't think I want to mess with this canyon. This looks like it's going to be a huge pain to go traverse through that canyon. So on this left side route, I don't know if it's going to be possible to get out there. I'm just dragging around. And this way looks good up until this spot right here. This kind of looks like it might be a little steep, so that way is not going to work either. So I'm going to come back, and I'm thinking maybe this right side route is going to be our ticket here. It looks pretty good from the start. I may actually even park here on this curve, hike up here, and that still looks a little bit steep, but that could be an option. We're going to hike along this slick rock, keep going here, and we have a little canyon here, so that's going to be a problem. This drop off, that's not going to work. So that's not going to be an option. So let's look potentially at getting in over here on the right side. So parking somewhere maybe here and starting our hike, walking through here along this wall. That's looking a lot better for me. Keep going along the wall. And then maybe right here, we're going to stay right. We're going to go through here. We're going to traverse this cliff face, or this hillside rather. We're going to keep going all the way. And the problem is we can't really cross right here. This is a canyon until we get up here. It looks like we could probably jump across right here, which works perfectly because we could come up and we could hit this spot right here. So we can add a few more waypoints if we wanted to, just so that we know the way that we're going. So I'm going to grab another waypoint. We are going to add this like right here and say start here. And we could add even one more waypoint if we wanted, like right in here. And then we can say stay east of wall. And if you wanted to add one more waypoint up here for a crossing, you could as well. So that's how I'd go about finding a spot on Google Earth. Now we're going to jump into the second half of this video where I'm actually going to go there in person. I haven't been out there before, so I don't know if it's cool or not. We're going to head out there. I'm going to jump out there later tonight and check out this spot and see how cool it is. So I will get you guys some video from out in the field as well. All right, guys, so after getting here, I actually scoped out the first direction, and I actually think I like this way a little bit better. This way goes up through a gully, drops down, and then comes back up, and I actually think that will have a little bit less exposure than the previous way I was going. I think either way would probably work, but this way is going to be a little bit safer and a little bit easier for me to get out there, so I'm going to go ahead and go this way. So we're going to go ahead. First step is to get up here, and then I'll show you guys what we're looking at once we get up there. All right, so we're getting the first view of where we're going to be going. We're headed up onto this ridge over here. It's looking pretty good. We've got to drop down and then head back up, and that's where we'll be going.
Okay, so now that I'm down in this gully, I've got two choices. I can go up the gully and out to reach my spot, which is these rocks right behind this tree up there, or I can go up high right now. Now, standing down here right now, up the gully looks way, way easier. But I know that if I go up here, it's gonna be much easier for me later because it's gonna be hard for me to get out of this gully later. The only reason I know that is because I surveyed the whole area and I've got the offline map on my phone telling me that. So it's important if you are doing something like this where you're going cross country in a spot where there's not a trail, that you have looked at all the other options. So when you get to a decision point like this, your decision is more informed and you go the easier way in the end, which is up this way. So that's the way I'm going to go to get to the spot rather than going up the creek bed here. So we're going to continue going all the way further up here on this ridge. The reason why I want to keep going is because our subject here doesn't look very flattering from this angle because it's kind of the straight on angle where we're getting the whole side ridge with the whole mountain. Whereas once we get further up there, as you saw on the Google Earth, this mountain will actually look a little bit skinnier, so it'll look a little bit more photogenic. So that's why we want to keep going to the original spot rather than find a composition in here to make that mountain look as good as we can, because of course we want the subject to look as cool as possible. So when you are finding your compositions like this, one thing to keep in mind is that you likely won't be able to find the exact composition you want on Google Earth. The best thing to do is simply just find the subject and find an area that you think might have some cool compositions, which is exactly what I've done. I picked this plateau here, or this shoulder of rocks, which I thought would have cool compositions, but I can't exactly pick out exactly which rock, or if there's a little cactus or a little tree or something like that. Usually you won't be able to pick out exactly the composition you want. So just think about framing your subject out well and then finding a spot where there's potential for good compositions. So for example, if you're in the middle of a forest trying to shoot a mountain, don't just assume there will be a good composition because there's trees all around that are going to be blocking your views. But I assume that I'll be able to find a good composition out here because I've simply found a spot that looks like it's just all slick rock, flat, so I should have a plenty good view and be able to see the mountain and then find some really cool compositions as well. Alrighty guys, well this is right about where my spot was on Google Earth. You can see we've got our subject here, this mountain, and we've actually got this mountain in the background, which I didn't really realize on Google Earth, but now I can see it. So you can see my surroundings here. We're just kind of on this little slick rock plateau, which is exactly what it looked like on Google Earth. Now the question is just finding an interesting composition. There's some cool trees and whatnot, and I'm also looking at some of the rocks. One of my favorite compositions is just right up here. I can get down low and capture a shot just like about here. And that way I'm getting the nice leading line of this yellow stripe, and I'm getting our subject and our background over here as well. Now the one thing I want to be careful of in this spot is I don't get too much of this mountain on the right, because from this perspective it really makes our subject look small. So that's why I'm cropping most of my shots about right there, which keeps our subject really prominent over here. So lots of things to think about over here, but this is exactly where my spot was on Google Earth. You can see how easy it is to find cool spots and go right out to them and find really cool compositions that you may or may not have seen before. Thank you guys so much for checking out this week's video. Hopefully that helps you guys find some really cool compositions that might be off the beaten path. As I've mentioned many times before, it's important to be prepared when you're doing a kind of cross-country hike like this, where you might not know what kind of terrain is there, and there's some spots that you may just not be able to reach. So you have to be happy with the fact that you might just go out on a scouting mission, not be able to reach that spot because it's too dangerous, and be fine with that and head home. Always be really careful when you're out doing this kind of cross-country travel. If you guys have any questions about how to find more compositions on Google Earth, or how I got out here in the field, please feel free to let me know down in the comments. As always, appreciate your likes and subscribes. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.